Hi guys, Orlando Gamer here with another session of Adventures of the Standing Bear. This is session 10 for us, and kind of wraps up a little bit of Mox's backstory. So this is right after Kezurex was defeated, and Mox kind of takes his time with the village, reminiscing with about his family, kind of paying his respects and everything, before we kind of head back to Windshire to set up for the next story beat. And kind of leaning a little bit into some back history with Fia and Troxy, which is kind of our main focus moving forward, at least for a little while. But basically, just a nice sort of quiet RP session of like repositioning ourselves now that we took out the threat of Kezurex. But if you like the session, feel free to give the video a like. And if you like my content and want to see more of it, hitting the subscribe button really helps out. But without further ado, here is session 10 of Adventures of Standing Bear.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, so I was trying to wrestle with this idea of like closure because I'm sure we might explore some things tonight, but like we're not necessarily at the period of the last sentence of your backstory, although we are coming off of like presumably the climax of it. And at first I was trying to like figure out like percentage wise how much I wanted to devote to that, and I after thinking about it I realized that like I'm not going to worry about the percentage time of the overall session, and I'm just going to like when it feels narratively appropriate to sort of like push the party into the neutral zone to introduce the next um, snag I have as far as like stuff goes. And so I just wanted to let you know that like it's going to be my full intention to like let you sort of provoke whatever conversations or acts or things of that nature to sort of like and like I said, there were some unideal things that may have happened and that you might want to I don't know whatever you want to like explore or establish. And when we reach the next beat after that, where maybe it's come sort of at least to a point as far as Mox is concerned. Like obviously it could be like some sort of like epilogue story, part of your epilogue story, like you take care of the rest of the cultists around the empire, or so I know there's parts of this sort of operation that's associated with your backstory that's you know still maybe a potential threat, but like I was yeah just kind of wanted to give you that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not too stressed about it. So really the things I had going into the session was kind of calling out the party on saying one thing but doing it different, and basically like this concept of like making decisions with impunity because like we have this idea that because we're so strong that we're always right sort of mentality at this point, calling the group out as a whole on that, going to the gravesite of his wife and son, and then burning this bitch to the ground. And that's kind of
Okay.
everything for Mox as far as this area. I have some like epilogue stuff that we could talk later, but that
Yeah,
obviously
obviously.
that's further down the road. And I
Right.
feel like there's going to be some tie-in with Mox's stuff with Cassandra's, anyways, just with the nature of her in general.
Right. Right. I kind of just wanted to sort of lay out how I kind of like sort of thought things through, and it sounds like we're kind of on the same page, so
Yeah.
we can just hop
To
back
be, I
into
was going to
the
say, if anything, I think it'll go faster because Tucker's not here. Because I felt like he's going to be more pissed with.
dude. I, I was also going to say like the person who started the fight isn't going to be here when you call out the party for starting the fight.
Yeah, well, it's
Because
not just
Zaphreal
starting the
made the first
fight.
move.
It's kind of like the just assuming that by killing this one person that we've ended the threat and everything's hunky
Right.
dory sort of thing. But yeah,
Okay, cool. Let's hop back in. Riley took superb notes of last session, and um, we did a sort of recap before. And so, last time on the adventure of the Standing Bear, we found the party arriving at the Four Corners, which is like a major intersection of highways that provides a lot of goods throughout the Empire. You all got a lead of a Marcus Osiris, who was allegedly the sort of first-hand man, kind of like right-hand man rather, of Kezurex. Upon getting there, you all quickly discovered a warehouse where he was working out of primarily, and when confronted, though it was minor, at least for as far as the group is concerned, pretty subtle, and there was no shows of strength. Marcus got the best of you and chased off into the midnight, where uh, behind a horse and carriage, the whole party chased down the street wildly, working together in a different way of like teamwork, or even just relying on their innate ability and talent to subdue Marcus. And upon doing so, you were able to get him. However, you had attracted some attention of guards that had been patrolling the street further up a couple blocks. Zaphreal took the chance to hold off the guards, giving you an opportunity to lure Marcus into another warehouse that he does work out of. Not being quite as big or elaborate as the last, the rest of the Standing Bear had interrogated Marcus for any sort of information, as if, like, you know, where's the location of Kezurex? What are his intentions? And upon whether he was bluffing or not, believing that he truly could not die, decided to maintain his life. However, there were some sort of intimidation factors that sort of were used to gain your favor. But you did learn that Kezurex, when he spent his time on this plane of existence, was a location in the Zilnex Hills. He drew a rough circle around the area on a map for y'all, and that's when Mhox. It almost reminds me of that scene in Lilo and Stitch, where like Nani is trying to find a job, and like the fire truck goes down the street, and she's hoping it doesn't turn left, because if it turns left, it means it's going to their house, and the house is smoking off in the distance. And she's like, "Oh, I hope it doesn't turn left," and it does. Anyways, the area that was circled was the rough estimate of the area that his tribe was located within the mountain range. And upon travel of airship that was recently acquired as an asset of the Standing Bear, was used to travel to the Zilnex Hills, and the closer and closer y'all got, the more Mhox realized that, indeed, this is exactly where you guys were going. There was a moment of not necessarily a come to Jesus moment, but Zaphreal and Cass were able to sort of like amend some of their wrongs that had happened so far in their teamwork of the team. And you know, Zaphreal had apologized that he had maybe come off too strong with sort of a religious anger, and there were some admissions as well from Cass's side, and they had a sort of a gift exchange where, and Zaphreal gave, what was it? Wasn't it like straight up like
Oh, it's the.
It was a necklace. It was
It's
blessed or something, right?
He gave me an amulet, a devote +3. That's blessed directly from the Raven Queen.
Yeah, yeah. And am I missing anything before we get to the fight with Kezurex in the village? Oh, Mhox and Zaphreal have another conversation about sort of like the intentions when finding Kezurex, and ironically enough, Mhox had told him that his intention was to not kill Kezurex, or at least to find out what exactly is all going on. But after pushing forward, oh, and you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, Endless and Throg have a drinking sesh time down in the bar before going on
Drinking
the
contest.
Yes, I don't know if it's necessarily a contest, but Englis was definitely drinking with Throg, and then at one point he mentions, he's like, you know who I don't miss? Fucking, what's her name? Evelyn. God, she's become such a like backstory now that I hardly remember her name.
That's exactly what I want you to think. I'm just kidding. Dude, she's trapped in prison. Because you fucked her over.
And it was the first time
anyways.
anybody had stayed up with Throg. That was the other important piece.
Yeah, like we got some more character development from Throg there, and it would go on to happen again because when the party dialed in on the location of Mox's long-lost tribe, high within the Zonex Hills, you stumbled upon what seemed to be kind of barren. A lot of the tents and tent-like structures had been collapsed in on itself. There were huge burn piles within the length of the village. And from the tents that remained, after walking past, Throg had made a discovery that, like, within these tents, or these structures, if you will, were these cultists that basically had whited out eyes, kind of these mindless, worshipping husks. And after the second or third skull of watermelon crushing, Throg began to sort of question his morality and like whether this was right or not, because it started to feel weird that there was no attempt at struggle, thus showing us a little bit more insight into Throg as a character as a whole. Going all the way towards the back end where, like, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to say chief, the person that would hold the highest amount of power within your tribe was being taken up and cozied in by Kezurex himself. And upon entry, you had realized that what you were looking at was Kezurex, but whether it be the power, the belief from his worshippers, or his general gluttonous attitude towards the life of the Primaterial had grown quite obtuse since you had last seen him, taking on much of a large, obese demon that, like, you imagine might struggle to just run 30 feet. With him were two mistresses, if you will, that were chained by the neck, with him holding the appropriate chain for either one. You had confronted him, and although Mox's intentions, even before going in, Zaphreal had confirmed that this was going to be all on Mox. It was tough then, when the party had to witness Kezurex treating these females in such a what's the word I'm looking for? In the lack of a better word, a very gross sort of manner, pulling them by the chain and making them even one stumble. Zaphreal grabbing the chain, saying no more. At which point, things dissolved extremely quickly, and we get the encounter with Kezurex himself. The party really took a heavy amount of damage, though there were some who came out rather safe. I'm thinking of Fia and Throg at the moment. Everyone else really was on death's door. We had Endless struggling. But
That's
eventually, not Throg, Kezurex was slain. And where I would like to pick up at this moment is y'all were transported to like this sort of dimensional pocket to fight Kezurex as you guys blinked and the wait, what wasn't it? Who killed Kezurex? Wasn't it a fucking disintegration that killed him?
Yep.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Fia, wasn't it?
And then we rested, and we just woke up at the inn.
Well,
So-
no.
We ended right after the fight, is what I was trying.
Yeah,
to...
we're still on top
Okay.
of the mountain.
Yeah, because
okay.
I'm still at 2 health.
Yeah, so okay.
Because Endless went down, I think, twice. Cassandra
Twice.
was
yeah.
either went down or was like as close to going down as possible.
Yeah. So we'll say we're going to pick up right back in the middle of the chief's sort of tent. This tent itself is probably 20 by 15 feet, so it's kind of a large rectangle. But we'll say the two mistresses that were sort of like given the, Star Wars treatment are kind of passed out on the floor. Inside this tent, there is no snow. There seems to be some sort of thick rug combination with like hay and mud to sort of create a floor that's not frozen or covered with snow. And they're just sort of like passed out. And we'll say where Kezurex was sitting on the throne, there it seems to be like a large, sizable pile of ash with two things sort of sticking out from the pile itself, seemingly not destroyed by the power of disintegrate. But with that being said, I want to give the floor to Mhox, and that's what will start us all off in this tent.
Kind of picking himself up, Mox would approach the ash, kind of like dipping his trident in, like stirring around to make sure like the deed's actually done. I assume this would also reveal what the items are, but
yeah, we'll say as you stir around, the just affecting the dust itself as it settles into a different shape of a pile. You can hear the small, and maybe it's your blood hunter background, but you can hear the small sound of souls that just kind of like shriek out with the shifting of the dust. But upon finding it, you discover what looks to be a belt that's about 4 inches thick. I mean, wide, so it's like it's like a double belt if you really think about it. And there is a ring that has a greenish yellow gem with what appears to be like a cat's iris, the length of it, and it kind of extends out like an opal shape, if you will. Like it would take up like the first knuckle of your finger, if that makes sense.
okay.
But yeah, you definitely get the impression that these are magical items.
Without saying anything, Mox would pick him up and walk over to Fia. Fia, I think it feels right that these belong to you to do with what you wish. I don't know what they are, but if Kezurex had them, just by holding them, I can feel some sort of arcane nature in them. You're the one that did the deed.
But Kezurex is your bad guy. Maybe you should take the belt and I can take the ring.
To be honest, Fia, there's nothing that I want from Kezurex. Having him gone from this plane of existence is all that really mattered. And most importantly, it was achieved without vengeance on my part. So, if anything, I think holding on to an item would prevent my soul from ever being at peace.
Okay. I can respect that. I'll take him off your hands.
I know.
And I don't think.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Kind of like turning to the rest of the group. I know that we had agreed to follow my lead, but I think that the Standing Bear at this point has become so blinded by the power we wield that we don't actually consider the repercussions of our actions. We all knew Kezurex needed to die, but killing him without finding out any additional information on this cult over 2 slaves that he didn't do anything to aside what normally happens to slaves may have condemned hundreds more because we have no clue what else is going on.
Zaphreal averts his gaze.
You may be right, Cursebringer, but I mean, he's no longer around to spread his fat among the people.
Yeah,
I think
but
some good was done.
I'm not saying that good wasn't done. But how many of these cultist outposts exist? How many more will suffer because we didn't find out anything? I think the Standing Bear really needs to consider that the level that we operate at is no longer a tactical split-second decision. With the amount of power we wield, we need to be operating on a strategic level. Now,
Fia, you had something? Oh, sorry.
my intentions are to go to the gravesite of my wife and child and then burn this place to the ground. What the rest of you do is your own. And Box is going to walk towards the door, and we can set the scene after that.
Okay. Fia, did you have something you wanted to say?
No. I think it related to the items he gave me. I was just gonna say that I don't know if I have detect magic, but I still haven't checked that. But in relation to what Mox said, Fia will give him his space, but be ready to help him if he wants help when he's ready to like burn the place down.
Okay. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add to this before I push this on to the next scene?
Sandra's just gonna get up and dust off her hands and goes, I could use a bath, and walk out.
English is just kind of laying on the floor as he reaches one hand up and he's just like, help.
She'll
And
grab him
You look
by
like
the...
you just got hit by a thunderbolt from Pikachu in Pokemon, you know? And you're
Where
all
the Charizard flames, like he's
Yes,
literally just
yes.
scorched.
Yeah.
As she walks past him, she's gonna grab him by his ankle and just drag him by one foot.
Oh, shit.
Come on, English. Put your back into it.
He just makes groaning noises.
There. It will be okay. And she just drags him out.
What about you, Throg?
That was a good fight. Hard to come by.
What?
Say that one more time. You're kind of. It sounds like you're a little muffled.
He said
Oh, that's
that was a
better.
good fight. It's hard to come by you lately, and he'll just leave.
Okay. Mhox, as you step out of the tent, the camera follows you, facing you as you exit, and kind of zooms past front and gets a sort of aerial view of the situation. As you take a couple steps, you walk another 20 or 30 feet or so, and you essentially reach the sort of like central point of the tribe. A lot of the paths that went out and in sort of all intersected here, and you had fond memories of, even as a child, playing goat ball, which is a unique game amongst your people. It's a from goat hide is stuffed with a bunch of small rocks, so it's like a big hacky sack, if you will, and the whole goal. It's like soccer, but it's not. Um, Anyways, so you have a sense of nostalgia that's quickly overcome with the sensation of loss and sadness, as all these memories that flood from your brain are kind of just echoes that sort of bounce and reverberate off as distant memories. And I would just like you to sort of to describe like what Mox's internal monologue is kind of going through before making any decisions.
As you kind of described, he's kind of reminiscing all of the good that's happened in this village, but there's kind of like that as the song's playing, there's like that note that catches, like the string breaks as it's now replaced with what's currently here, like how it's all been desecrated. So like all of the good memories are now tainted with what lies here before. He can picture where a Gemma spent time with Theobald helping the neighbor build up their sort of hut, which the hut isn't even there anymore. It's been replaced with this tent that's got bones as like its actual structure. Um, the sort of central area where there was like a meeting place where there was like seats and everything where everybody could group together is now a bonfire with this like pyre of skulls sort of thing. So everything's kind of like distorted. But as he looks off in the distance, there is one bit tainted or left untainted, mostly because of the distance it is from the village itself, as the lake down the hill off to one of the sides, um, which is where he did bury his family. There's a little thatched hut that's got like a little dock out into the water. And he makes
So
his
we'll
way down
say
there.
the party will follow in tow at their own pace down a series of hills, and the because of the snowy nature of the pass, there have been several implements of like layers of wood that have been made up. So like even with high snow, it's still like a safe passage. And as you get down to this lake, we'll say the lake itself, like you could walk around the entirety of this lake in probably 7 minutes. So maybe it's maybe a large pond. But one detail I will add: there is a section of land in the center of the lake that is just big enough to support the life of a huge evergreen tree that probably stands 120 feet tall. And when going down on this shabby shabby craftsmanship sort of dock, you can see the crystal blue water that's nearly see-through, with the reflection of the large evergreen tree um, refracting off of its surface. And we can say, I don't know if there was necessarily a dedicated headstone.
Need inspiration?
But
Shop
there,
Smith's for
there's
over
a
3,000 mouth-watering choices.
you know,
with
maybe,
savings
I don't know if it
and
was
low
like an
prices,
ashes
like
sort of like thing, or what. But
I think
what
we're
did
going to
you have in mind,
piggyback off
Marcus?
of your added island. Mox is going to get into a little
Okay.
rowboat as he rows out, because the tree is what he planted over their grave 10 years ago.
Okay. 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 So we'll adjust the height. We'll say it's like 60 feet tall. Oh, I love that. So we'll say this little bit of land is just big enough for the whole size of the party. People will have to kind of surround the tree because of the shoreline of this small little piece of land. Um, but it's at this point, Mox, that the weather has been decent, but it's in this moment where the cloud cover kind of opens and parts in such a way where God rays of light come down and bathe the tree in a beautiful warmth. Um, and I don't know. You have this moment of peace that maybe you haven't felt in a while. And I'll give you the floor.
He'll kind of walk up, kneeling before the tree, kind of placing his hand on it. Because when he planted it, he never expected it to have grown this much with such little land here. He just felt it was the nicest place at the time. Uh, in retrospect, he's seeing that kind of in his mind that it was built on a solid foundation of his wife and child, and that's what's helped it grow. Um, most of it is just in silence, but at one point he'll kind of give him a, it's done. You and Theobald can rest in peace. You've been released from him.
And I'm going to say, although it's not audible, everyone, even including Throg, kind of hears this sort of like this quick breath of air, almost the last breath of air in the lungs the body would hold before expiring, kind of releases into the space.
Cassandra will do a small prayer to the Raven Queen quietly during this.
It said that you minimized the thing and it's not playing anymore.
Oh, goodness.
It's working now.
Following this, unless someone else has something else on the island here, Mox would then kind of row back to the village to kind of like clear it out of anybody that's still remaining, assuming they've now realized that the person they've we're worshipping is no longer there, and then kind of see if you can find any additional information on, like, if there's a a map showing like sites or anything like that. Basically, kind of doing a thorough once over before he burns everything down.
Okay. And before we get to that, if anybody else would like to add to the scene, feel free. I'm just going to ask a follow-up question for Cassandra, but feel free. But if no one speaks up, that's fine. We'll just assume that's how it ends, and we'll go back up to the village for the once-over. But Cassandra, you mentioned you wanted to say a prayer to the Raven Queen. What are not necessarily, you don't need to necessarily say the prayer, but what are your intentions of this prayer?
She's holding her new amulet as she prays, and she's just saying a prayer to watch over the dead that is missed by her companion, Mhox.
Okay. Upon finishing the prayer, you feel a very warm and embracing feeling from within, and this is the same feeling that you felt on that fateful day. And you seem to get the impression that you are receiving praise from the Raven Queen herself, at which point, Mhox, as you're about halfway through rowing to the other side, the lake glistens with a silver sparkle. It's subtle, but when the sun hits it just right, it really glistens. And as everybody makes their way across, upon getting to the main part of the village, the lake seems to continuously sparkle at this point. And Cassandra, you interpret this as a blessing from the Raven Queen.
She's gonna kind of smile as her shadow weave is gonna form her fencing mask on as the sunlight is kind of coming out, as a small blood tear kind of goes down her cheek. And now she feels a longing of visiting her family's grave as she smiles at this.
Does anybody else wish to add to that, or shall we jump up to the once over? So with that, as the party regains back in the main part of the village, anybody who would like to, or anybody who would like to assist Mhox, can participate in either, I'll say, perception check,
I have mud with severe
investigation,
Crohn's disease.
or yeah, I'll just go with those two for now. Perception or investigation.
I am
Will help.
proficient in both of those.
I'll do perception.
That would be a 24 in perception.
I'll do investigation.
18 for perception.
Okay.
Team Tang.
It's a 21 for Mhox.
Nice.
21.
19 for investigation.
Okay, so who all rolled investigation?
Me.
Mhox.
Just you? And Mhox? Okay, and Endless and Cassandra, what were your rolls again?
18, I think. Let me see. Let me double check that. 18.
Endless?
24.
Okay, so we'll say this. Fia and Endless, and everybody else who participates kind of like goes in a sort of mostly straight line as you all sort of comb through the village. And we'll say the two of you are able to spot what looks to be like a children's doll that is mostly preserved. So there are strands of what seems to be some sort of mountainous beast, their hair sort of sewn into the top of the doll's head that gives it some a texture, but it's poorly made, but has a lot of character, and especially with the context, potentially who this could have belonged to, you know. And Mox and Cassandra, as you're looking around, Cassandra, I'll say that you are able to find a handful of documents sticking out of the one of the piles that would eventually go into the burn pit. Um, it seems to be a journal of some kind. After just a quick perusing, it's a journal that talks about the struggles of like living in such conditions, but the power of community is able to get her through. This seems to just be the diary of some uh, gal who's, you know, had a pretty rough life up here in the mountains. And Mox, what I want you to tell me is what's the one thing that Mox would want to find that is related to his family, and that'll be what you discover.
All right.
We'll say my wife had kept a cat, but like it was one of those cats that like was allowed to wander throughout the village, sort of
Okay,
thing. And
okay.
when
An outdoor
Mox,
cat.
yeah, so like, uh, we'll call it uh, Whiskers, and it's a
Okay.
little black cat with like green eyes. Uh, Mox had just assumed it had been consumed at the flames whenever Kezurex had attacked the village originally, so he didn't like spend time finding it. But as he like turns the corner, there's this
So
fucking
we'll
black cat.
say you're like in the same. You're looking through the same pile that Cassandra is, and as you notice that she finds what seems to be a journal, you kind of are sifting through, and not much. A lot of this, like, some of it's painful because you're kind of digging through the remains of what used to be. Um, at which point you hear a meow. When you look down, you see the camera sort of pans out and looks down the way. And coming from within one of the tents, you see Whiskers, who has maintained his black fur because of the elevation. He's a little bit of a more long-haired cat, but there is a patch of fur that's missing at the top of the head, so he has a bit of a bald spot. But when he meows, it's the type of meow that only a owner would recognize. And as you meet eye contact, he kind of does a quick prance above the snow and comes towards your direction.
Uh, and I would say too, since it's been 10 years, that like he's like 15, so he's like an old cat. So you could see
He's
that
an
like.
old cat, yeah. Yeah, like there is actually debris in Whisker's way, and as opposed to just jumping over it, he takes the time to just walk around because of the joints being a little rough these days, you know.
So Whiskers as
Whiskers kind of jumps up onto your shoulders, and
well,
with that, the party kind of comes to. Not a lot to show for, but keepsakes nonetheless, as far as history is concerned. And the group kind of collectively looks towards you, Mox.
uh, we I'm assuming because we kind of like talked through it already, is we confirmed all the cultists have left at this point.
Oh no, 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 no. There's like at least a handful of tents that are just full of these mindless cultists that Throg had killed some, but they're, I mean, we'll say with your inspection of finding, you know, keepsakes, we'll say 15 more cultists are found, but they're all in the similar state of mind where they seem to be totally incoherent and adverse to feeling.
Cassandra's gonna look to Mox and goes, we could just poke and leave.
Let's
Or
try.
leave them alive, either or.
Well, what I'm more interested in is seeing if I can glean anything from them. DM, I'm going to reach out and touch one of them using my grim psychometry. I can make a history check to recall information about the sinister or tragic history of an object you're touching or the current location.
What kind of check?
History.
Please do so. And I'll give you a situational advantage because of the context of the scene.
Perfect, because that's the whole point of it. Is it gives me advantage on those checks.
Oh,
sorry,
okay,
I
you
did
already
read
have
through it.
advantage?
Yeah,
My bad.
that's
but
a
still.
23.
Upon making contact, you feel the what seems to be a male kind of like go into a little bit of a convulsion as you sort of peruse the past. You don't necessarily hear anything, but you get images of past events strewn together with certain emotions, and it all sort of translates into, you get the idea that at least the cultists that were rounded up in just now, they, like, for all intents and purposes, are vegetables. They're alive enough to continually worship Kezurex, but so much of their soul, or free will, if you will, has been consumed by Kezurex himself. So at this point, they're nothing more than just batteries.
Endless, I'll let you make the call, but from what I can glean, more or less, their soul has already been ripped. They've essentially been feed bags for Kezurex. There's enough here that he can take his time with them, but it would take something significantly higher than anything I think in our party, except for maybe Zaphreal and his connection to Cord, to help these people. It's almost like cows for the slaughter.
Cassandra smiles.
What an awful time to smile. I love you, Cassandra.
Yeah, and seeing that, like, Angelus kind of like shoots you a look and like shakes his head at you.
What? Fine.
In the end, if there's not much left, and there's not much we can do to help our peace that we can bring, I think the best piece that we can bring them is to make the hard decisions. Don't you agree?
I think it's probably the most humane thing. May
I agree.
allow Zaphreal and Cassandra to make their pleas to their gods, but I think we just add it to the pyre.
Sandra, these are not hamburgers.
We just had a hard battle, and you don't want me to. Yeah, okay, it's fine. It's fine.
So, at this point, for anybody who would like to participate, I want everyone to sort of describe how they contribute to the burning of the village. Let's see here. We'll just go.
Can Fia make a comment real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Not to be grotesque, but if we're gonna kill these guys anyway, maybe we should let Cassandra have a meal first.
Her eyes have like stars in them, and she's like, she's all looking at you like with pretty
tears like
eyes.
coming down almost.
Yeah.
Oh, are you guys?
Engless and
I was
Mhox.
I was gonna say it. Mhox is already deferred to Endless on this to begin with, so.
Guess it's up to you, Engless.
Yeah, English kind of he begrudgingly walks over to Cassandra and says, "Cassandra,
yes.
These are not cattle. These are not creatures. These are not animals. They were once like me, and they were once like you before your vampiric nature took over. However, you are one of my oldest friends, and I cannot deny that your circumstances have changed. I know there's not much left of them, but can you make it quick?"
Oh yes, I could make it quick. I could absolutely make it very quick. She looks down at the ground, looks up, very quick.
He goes,
It might honestly be better than burning to death.
Yeah, burning to death takes like 5 minutes. I don't know if you know that. I know that.
English sighs, and he agrees with you eating your fill, and he reaches into just like a satchel, and he pulls out what appears to be a strand of Jeffrey's silk, and he just starts doing like cat's cradle with it between his fingers.
Cassandra,
Oh, yes?
as you feed on one, and although this is like humanoid blood, which normally is like just enough to tickle the britches, you realize going through one, there's a certain amount of mortality that's missing from this blood, and though it's like fulfilling, it's not quite as nourishing, so you find yourself having to go through about 3 of them before you really get your fill.
And what she does, because they said make it quick, she basically slices the throat with her sword before she like latches on.
Yeah.
And just it's kind of like
not piercing with the teeth, just like
she's
making an open
shotgunning
wound.
Them like you'd shotgun a beer.
Yeah, okay.
And you know, like
sucking them dry like a human Capri Sun.
Yeah. And she'll drop the last one as her entire bottom jaw is covered in blood, and her eyes have never seen more bright blue. And she goes, it's like drinking 5-day-old wine out of the bottle. It hits the spot, but just not quite there.
5-day-old wine is the stuff that I drink regularly.
She like looks you up and down, and she goes, "I know, English. I know."
You probably like that barrel wine.
He's like that.
Instead of box wine.
Instead of box wine, yeah.
English is like that person that left a soda out overnight, and he's like, "It's still good," and drinks it.
Oh, 100%. You gotta remember, he didn't even take a bath until like recently.
She's gonna clean the blood off her jaw and goes, "Fia, darling, I owe you."
Well, I thought it might be a little bit of a waste.
Agreed.
So, with that, as as Cassandra starts to sort of clean herself off in a more presentable sort of manner, I want Cursebringer Mhox to start us off with how this shit burns down.
Mox is kind of going for a one and done sort of approach to this. So he's kind of like use what little bit of brush and everything he can find to kind of like create like the domino effect where like if we light one tent, it's going to kind of go around and spread to the whole village, kind of
Okay.
making one giant fucking bonfire.
With the muscle power of Throg and the rest of the group, you are able to sort of make a daisy chain of flammable objects. And as you throw a match into the burning pile, it starts to spread quite quickly.
She'll
And
give him alchemist fire.
Sure. And there's a fiery explosion that has an acrid smell as it starts off cascading down towards the village. Cassandra, how would you wish to add to this?
By giving him the alchemist fire.
Okay, sure. Okay.
And then she just stands there and watches.
Fia, how would you like to contribute?
Initially,
This is your deal.
yeah, initially I had a different idea, but I guess like I'll still kind of do it. I'll like follow the flames, and like catch on the buildings that it hasn't gone to yet, in a way, and you'll see like it barely catches, and as she walks away, almost magically, the whole thing like just kind of not quite blows up, but it all just exactly like that.
Yeah, and right as that fire engulfs a larger tent, the trail that was created by the alchemist fire now meets up, and it creates this even larger flame as it begins to just barrel through. Throg, how would you like to add to the fire?
Pulling on his fire giant knowledge, he will set the Titan ball ablaze as he kind of just throws it through buildings, making them tumble down in a blaze of fire.
As you toss out like a shot put, the cannonball flies through a series of tents, not only collapsing them, but setting some of it ablaze, almost recreating the trail that Mox and that you guys had done initially to get this started. It now just has a more successful path to the fire as everything almost in its entirety starts to be engulfed. Endless. As the leader of the Standing Bear, how would you like to finish off the burning of this village and release it from its corruption?
Looking around, picking a spot that is not yet on fire, Engless will pull out his longbow and an arrow, and he'll get it ready. He'll draw the bow back, and then for the first time hearing anybody hearing him use this language, he speaks in Inferno and activates a flame arrow
Cool.
and just lets it fly.
As it flies through the air, the POV follows the shaft of the arrow as it meets in contact with one of the last remaining large tent structures. And upon setting it ablaze, the trail made by Throg's cannonball now catches up. And at this point, it's gotten so hot and polluted with smoke that a lot of you begin to feel persuaded to leave the immediate vicinity. And as you begin to walk upon, walk up one of the trails that goes further up the mountain, where you guys initially came down from, you can see the not small, but the large black smoke starting to sort of coalesce into a single stream that begins to float up several 50, maybe 80 feet before taking away from the natural winds up here in the mountaintops. Mhox, any last words as you sort of have the advantage point now of essentially what brought you up to the man that you are now, as the ashes are kind of flying through the air as if it's snowing?
Kind of looking back over where the village laid, you can kind of still see the lake and the little dock out there. May you be reborn and bring life back to this valley. And then that'll be his last look.
As you turn around, there is a almost overwhelming, if you weren't so steadstrong, feeling of relief mixed with sadness, mixed with, I don't know, you thought you had gotten to this place before you realized Kezric's involvement of acceptance. But you've truly landed in the pool, and it's comforting. Things may have not played out entirely how you had wished, but that's life. And I don't know. You feel at this moment you are being watched, but by not only Moradin, but Cord and the Raven Queen. And we'll say, just for the foreseeable future, you'll just have a +2 blessing from the gods on all ability checks.
Hell yeah.
I don't know how long that'll last, but keep track of it.
Here, here.
So, with the somber retreat of the burning of Mox's past, all of those that wish to reflect on this moment as you make your way back to the airship, find yourselves thinking how, much like Troxy, we may have burned the past of Mox, but he still has a whole life ahead of him. And who knows how his past will manifest anew in his future. And it presents a sort of closeness that only emboldens the idea of relying on your friends. And we'll say, over the next 6 hours or so, you are able to get back to the airship. A quick lunch is had because of the amount of calories expended from the hike.
I'm full.
And oh yeah, you definitely, yeah, you're good. But we'll say the trip back to Windshire will be about 2.5 days. Probably closer to 2 because of the you traveling in the same direction as the wind.
Okay.
And unless if anybody specifically wants to have a conversation with somebody over this 2-day travel period, we'll do that. But I want to, if not, pick up at the arrival of Windshire.
Are we having?
Yeah, just go ahead.
I was just asking. Are we having a long rest during this time?
Yes, you can all have a long rest.
Thank the Lord. And then whenever Fia's done, English would like to do something too.
Same.
Okay. All right, we'll go Fia, Endless, then Cassandra, and anybody else who'd like to participate, that's fine. But Fia, you have the floor.
Fia wanted to approach Mox and just say,
Hold on. This is going to be the first night of traveling, and because it's always a full moon, it's a full moon, but it's also a full moon for the second moon of the world, which doesn't happen as often. So
Ah.
it's much brighter tonight. You can't see as many stars, but you almost don't even need lights aboard the airship, which is how bright it is. And so y'all are like in the nighttime. I'm just setting the scene, and there's a slight breeze, but because of where you're at in the season, it's quite warm. Because you're not particularly flying too high off of the ground. But yeah, Thea, you have it.
Sophia approaches Mox and just says, I'm sorry for using disintegrate on that guy. I didn't realize you may want to talk to him a little more before we killed him.
Fia, at the point of when you used disintegration, we had already moved past the point of talking with Kezurex. It was the hasty decision to attack. I think the most frustrating part about it is people in this party have literally done worse things to other individuals than what Kezurex did to that slave. And instead of keeping our composure, we immediately reacted. Your disintegrates. You even asked in the middle of the fight whether or not we needed to just end this. Endless had already gone down. We made the best of the situation we were given at that point. To be honest, you're one of the few people in the party that actually takes time to consider what's going on before making a decision. So, while I directed it at the standing pair, it was more specific individuals.
I see. I think it's eye-opening for all of us, though. I think we definitely have gotten to a point where we need to keep our power in check, and we definitely tend to overreact. So I think it's good that you called it out.
I think it's tough because we've been blessed to have the ability to do what we all can do. And we all feel that we need to act. But we look at the loincloth gang that we ran into, and
The Goosemans?
the Goosemans, and to be honest, they were almost as effective as we were as far as tracking down information on Kezurex, and they may have a tenth of the power that we have, but they know what their limits are and kind of stay within their lane. I don't know what the correct way forward is for us, but you think we literally fought a divine being of chords and won. There's not very many people on the prime material plane that can claim such a feat. And when you start having those types of power, it can very quickly go to your head. And I think we're approaching that threshold where we may need to consider stepping back and letting others lead the way forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important, to keep it in check, because I don't even think we realized we got to the point where we're letting it get to our head. But we definitely have. We've almost gotten cocky in a way, and yeah, I just think it's good for it to be called out. Someone's got to do it, and even myself, I don't know if I would have noticed, but now that you pointed out, and I just haven't. It's almost like a wall has been put up in a way, like you justify it for like you're doing stuff for the greater good, but you really got to ask who's being sacrificed and the consequences of that.
I think what has helped me a little bit as he like starts like stroking the sweet spot on like Whisker's like neck as he like
And he's
starts
just like he purrs loud. It's almost like it almost is like a white noise machine. And also, just for continuity purposes, I'm thinking like Maine Coon. So this is a big cat.
Oh yeah. So it's like a
black.
small puppy.
Yes.
I kind of reflect on the things that make us. Well, I'm not human, but human. The things like Whiskers here. I was. I was just a husband, a leader of a small tribe. And to be honest, I enjoyed that life probably more than the life I lead now.
And I don't blame you.
But I thank you, both for your restraint and your support.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I agree. I think it's almost more rewarding in a way to be a husband and a leader to your community. So I'm sorry you had to lose all that, and I'm sorry we had to just say goodbye to all that for maybe the last time. So good luck, I guess.
Well, in a way, I said goodbye to it 10 years ago. If anything, this was reaffirming that it will always be a part of who I am.
For sure.
And it's not like that tree and that island are going anywhere. So there's still
I was going to say, it looks like they're untouched.
Indeed.
And as you sort of both take this moment to gaze out into the very brightly lit sky, there is one star that seems to shine just as bright just in this exact moment. And the camera will pan. Endless, I believe, was up next. Endless,
That was so sweet.
as far as the timeline goes, do you want it to be the same night or the next day?
I'm fine with it being the same night.
Okay. So the camera pans onto Endless. What is it that you're doing and would like to do?
So Anglis is making his way to Cassandra's quarters. He's going to go pay a visit to her.
Okay.
And
I will remind you, because of the size of this airship, her quarters is exactly where your quarters is. She's just like 2 bunks down.
yeah.
Yeah, she's like, right now she's working on her alchemy setup that she has set up, and she's working on replicating the invulnerability potion. And it's a passive thing, so it's doing its own thing while she's working on a new potion apparatus.
As Anglis comes in to the room and you see him come in, you notice that he is wearing a rather grotesque looking mask on his face.
If you're going to attempt to eat my skin with a side of fava beans, I would suggest try someone less likely to bite back. English.
And he wasn't really like paying attention. And he's kind of taken back. He goes, "What? Oh!" And he takes off the mask. And he's like, "A really dear friend gave this to me. Do you know why she gave it to me, Cassandra?"
Well, looking at it, it looks like it protects your face, and for someone who's had their face sliced off many a times, is it to hold your face on longer than it should be? Possibly.
He laughs as he looks at it, and he's like, "That's exactly what it was made for."
Who
And
made it for you?
her name was Saffron. You've probably heard the name thrown around a lot.
I have. She kind of sits back.
At first I thought it was such a silly trinket, but it's become one of my most prized possessions. Because it helps me remember where I started. When I was just a fugitive on the run. And where I'm standing now, but yet I can't help but feel like I'm failing every day. Cassandra, do you think I'm failing?
You know, Engless, she kind of takes off her left arm and detaches it, puts it on the desk so she gets a little more comfortable. As she kind of puts her hand over the nub. You know, I think you're starting to feel like a leader, Engless. I don't think you failed. I think you're still trying to fit into those boots and figure out which way to pull the reins and which way you want the sled to go. You feel like you failed because there's so much on you, and you think everything is a result of your leadership. Do you think Zaphreal failed at all?
He answers it and tells you, well, no. And that's exactly where I'm struggling, Cassandra, is I almost died back there multiple times. If it wasn't for having you and the rest of the party around me, I would have lost my face.
I mean,
And probably my ass.
see, that would be a new thing for once. You know, I don't know too much about you and the Standing Bear's history, but from what I've heard and some of the information I know, Zaphreal lost 2 subordinates under his command, didn't he?
Oh shit! At least one. Who's the second?
Saffron and Troxy.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Hendrickson.
She doesn't know that. No one's told her
Oh, yeah,
about that.
that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. That's right.
Is that correct, English?
I think it depends on the definition of loss that you're going for, Cassandra, but I don't see how any of that was Zaphreal's fault.
Exactly. But do you think him being a leader, when all of you went to... she doesn't know that, though.
It's fair. You probably know.
Oh, I guess that is true, though, yeah. So, okay, she'll say 3. She'll say 3. She goes, sure. And it's true, it's not his fault. But let me tell you something, English. After how you feel now, when everyone went to bed, you probably stayed up and you probably hated yourself, correct? Made yourself feel like you failed?
You are putting it lightly, Cassandra, and you know that.
I do. Do you think just because you never saw Zaphreal cry, that he didn't cry alone? Because he thought he failed as a leader? This is the moment, Engless, where you either become a true leader and you keep moving forward, or the mantle's too much for you. I don't think it is. I think you have what it takes to be a great leader. You just need to understand that every failure and every mistake is not always yours. Every soldier that you'll lose going forward is not always going to be your fault. We're all in this line of work, fighting demons and angels and fat bastard monsters, but we all walk a dangerous path together. Imagine if it would have used a disintegration ray to me or Zaphreal right next to you. It's not your fault you couldn't block it. It would have just been done.
That is true. And you kind of see the that portion of Engless that kind of like drifts off from time to time, and he says, "Speaking of disintegration, did you know that I survived one of those once?"
You know, looking at you, you look like you survived a lot.
Yeah.
Essentially, do you want to know what went through my head while I was knocked down by Kezurex?
What is it?
I kept thinking to myself, if I was stronger, this wouldn't happen. I wouldn't be falling behind and leaving it up to you guys. If I was stronger, if I was as strong as I see Zaphreal. But I don't just want to be stronger. I want to be smarter.
That's good. You know, I feel that every day. Engless. I feel that every day when I remember walking into my family's hall that night. I remember when I found them dead and Ambrosia laughing from the chateaus. I remember pulling out my blade, thinking I was strong enough. When he removed my arm, I always kept saying, could I not just be as strong as my father? But my father fell to him. You are strong. I was strong. I faced my demon. You're facing yours. There are always going to be stronger things, Engless. But I want you to take a moment and look at this ship. I may be new. I may be the new face. The prettiest for sure, but the newest.
Did you see Engless roll his eyes at this?
You know it's true.
Well,
But
if she's a vampire, you know she's already hot. That's just how it works.
she actually throws you a vial. Made that earlier. Healing potion for you. I look at the bond that is around you. Did anyone detest or complain of your leadership when it was given to you? Or did they all just fall in line behind you because they believed in you?
Well, I guess the second part, you are correct. Nobody did protest. I protested a little bit, but nobody else did.
Of course you would.
I see what you're saying, Cassandra. I do. I think maybe the worry that I feel just comes with the territory being a leader. Maybe it's when I stop questioning my actions and my ability is when I should start to worry.
Yes. I deal with that every day. Make no mistake, the thought does run across my mind of killing every single one of you and drinking you like a bottle of wine because I am endlessly hungry. But I question who I am every day. I question why I am here. I question why the Raven Queen picked me that fateful night, when I am one of the things that she detests most, the undead. Never stop questioning yourself, but do not blame yourself. People will die. I will most likely die. Fia will most likely die. Throg Well, he may never die, but he may be trapped at some bottomless pit. And anyway, people will die, and the only time that I could say that you truly felt them was not protecting them, but not honoring them by continuing being a leader, by falling and giving up. Don't do that. But make sure you keep the mask on. It helps with the ugliness.
He laughs and he's like, I always keep it nearby. And he says, thank you, Cassandra. I feel a lot better. You're one of my oldest friends, and you and your family were always so good to me. And he goes in to give you a hug.
She gives you she hugs you both arms, but one arm is half right now, so it's more like a one-handed hug.
That's a half hug.
Half hug, yeah.
As you're hugging English back, he whispers in your ear, "You still smell like hay bales, though."
So funny, because you still smell like trash.
Hey, I at least have been taking baths now. As he kind of like cocks his shoulders a little bit, and kind of like he's like brushing some sod off your shoulder.
You should not be proud about. My mother bitched all the time about you not bathing, and we would anyway. Disgusting nonetheless. And she sits back down.
And he says, I will see you in the morning, Cassandra. As he kind of like he goes to like turn to like exit, but then realizes like, oh yeah, we all sleep in the same room. So he just kind of like turns back and hops up into his bunk.
And with that, Cassandra, I don't know if what you wanted to do was related to that, but no. I know you said you wanted to do something.
Yeah, it'll be the second night.
Okay.
Before I do that, can I just roll a alchemist check on building this new potion apparatus?
Sure. I'll be right back. I wanted to get through everybody on this fast travel, but I need a pee so bad. I'll be just 1 second. I feel rejuvenated and feel ready to continue the narrative.
Huzzah! Okay, let me do that roll real quick. She's basically making these potions where you bite into the potion to lever. It's like a no-spill potion apparatus where you bite into it and the potion like shoots into your mouth, kind of like a vampire type situation. But anyone can use that.
It's almost like a Jello shot, but not really.
Or like one of the water balls.
Yeah. What am I thinking of? It's a water. What is that from?
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. We're all on the same page.
14.
Did you ever make like an actual like tool check for it?
I just did an alchemist check. 14.
Oh, 14. Oh, okay, my bad. We'll say that with the supplies that you have, you are able to create 3 lesser healing potions, which is 2d4 plus 4.
I was running the check to make the apparatus itself.
Oh, my bad. I missed it. Okay. Apparatus or something. Do you mean like the chemistry set type thing?
So there's 2 checks I want to do. One check because I know I fully deconstructed the invulnerability potion, so she's making that. And then she's making a biting apparatus for potions. That you bite into it. And it basically shoots the potion into your mouth instead of like opening it. So it's like a no-spill potion where you can immediately bite into it instead of trying to pop it open.
Okay. We'll say this. Actually, let me just look up something real quick.
Sure. And then let me know if you want me to roll for making the copies of the invulnerability potion.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm looking up real quick. Hold on.
Oh, babe. Thank you. Tide Pod potions, exactly. It's kind of like those ones in the Blade movie, where he like bites into it. I can't remember what it was.
Okay, so this is what I will say. Based off of your roll of 14, we'll say that the pouches that you have, like, mechanically will still function as a natural potion, just the delivery method is slightly altered. So as far as mechanics are worth, you're able to create 3 lesser healing potions that are the sacks or whatever. And upon your tinkering and trying to base off of like the books and whatnot and your general knowledge of alchemy, the invulnerability potions are going to be a tough one. You're going to need an ingredient, and that is adamantine.
Okay, let's see here. Wish me luck, peeps.
So,
19!
I'm sorry, 19 for what now?
Oh, I was rolling for the potion. I think you said I needed a 19. My bad.
Oh,
Adamantine. Like the metal.
Oh, fair enough.
I maybe I should have let you roll, but the outcome would have been the same.
That's fine.
In order to make a foolproof invulnerability potion, you're going to need adamantine.
Okay. That's fine. The second night is when she'll visit Thea.
Okay.
Real quick question: do we know where she gets that adamantine?
I mean, it's definitely more common within the Meadoth Peats, but isn't totally rare within the Zilnix Hills. It's definitely like, especially during the time that we're at as far as war, adamantine is pretty sought out by both parties on either side of the war because of its magical properties and protections. So like, I'll say that it's not like super hard, especially with the kind of pull that you guys have in the world to get your hands on, but it's not just as simple as let me go collect some twigs on the side of the road so I can make a potion real quick.
Fair enough. She's gonna approach Thea. Wherever Thea's at on the second night.
Yeah, we'll say this also takes place on the bow of the ship because we're still in the fucking double full moon night, so we're taking advantage of it.
Good evening, Thea. Then she kind of approaches you from the side and...
Good evening. It's a beautiful night with these full moons.
Isn't it? It is just quite glorious to bathe in. You know, because it was a bad joke. Anyway, how are you?
Pretty good. You know, I'm not loving necessarily all the killing we have to do all the time, but whatever.
That's fair. That's fair. I noticed the new necklace you're wearing.
Yes, I got this. You never met Troxy, but she passed right before you joined the group. And when we were back at the tower, I found this in her room. It's a piece of her antler.
Oh. She kind of looks down. I'm sorry. I didn't know.
It's okay. I'll always miss her, but she like gets reincarnated in the next life, so eventually we're gonna find her next life and help her on her mission, but you know, we just have other things to deal with first.
She seems like she meant a great value to you, to carry a piece of her around like that.
Yeah, we were really close. We kind of came into the group at the same time. We kind of went through the same growing pains. And we were just like getting closer right before she died.
Oh.
So that was hard.
That would be hard. You say she gets reincarnated, but do you visit her grave? I don't know where you may have buried her, but...
I think you've been in the area where she is before. She's in the Emerald Grove off of the Windshire base.
Oh, so those were those treants and and hooded figures go in. I was curious about that, but maybe I thought you guys had some type of cult forming that you were aware of or something. I don't know.
No, before she died, she actually summoned those people and tasked them with keeping an eye on the village and making sure her because basically the whole reason why the village thrives is because of a spell she casts that makes it so things will endlessly grow there, basically. So the Emerald Grove was established to kind of continue that.
And I'm guessing that's some type of druidic row of hers?
Exactly, yes.
Sounds like she's the heart of the city that you guys are...
The shell at the very least.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've all contributed, but I'd say it was probably her and Raiden's baby.
Yeah. Well, if you ever want company visiting her, I would like to meet her. Any friend of yours is clearly a good person to be around.
You know, I haven't ever necessarily thought of visiting the Emerald Grove. I just kind of try to feel her where I'm at, but next time we're in Windshire, we'll have to take a visit.
Deal. I wanted to give you something. And she gives you this, I'm gonna kind of describe it the best I can. She gives you this vial that has like a bit of a metal apparatus around it, and there's like a soft spot on the top and a soft spot on the bottom. This is a potion of invulnerability. It's the last one I have. I've deconstructed it, but I need materials to make more. But I don't want to lose you, Thea. You're a good person. And you definitely deserve to live a long life. If it ever comes to it, you just bite down. She points to the two soft spots. You bite down on this. And it'll make you a little safer.
Wow, thank you. I can't even, not even the gift, but just the fact that you care enough to see me around to give this to me. I appreciate it all the way around.
Of course. Yeah, I know I'm not the same person that you once knew. But, even though the Raven Queen's tenets mean that we do not mourn or miss the dead, because it is a part of life, I still care about a few of the living mortals that I don't see as cattle. Maybe for vampires it's funnier. Anyway, I do care. And you and English remind me of what home used to feel like. So thank you.
Well, I'm glad you found your way back to us. I love having you around.
I know, who doesn't? I'm sorry, my ego is just too high. I do appreciate the fact that I'd run both into you and English is probably the gods' doing. But I'm grateful.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
Now, don't burn down the ship or anything with all these emotions. And there's nothing for me to eat, so I'm gonna go probably tinker with my art.
And with that, the camera starts to zoom out and follow the same speed of the ship as it flies throughout the Urim Empire skies. And I want to give the opportunity to Throd to put the cherry on top of all of this fast travel before we get back to the city. I guess it is a small city. Windshire.
Dog during the trip, mainly, in between his not really naps, but his meditating, kind of just laying in his bed, he thinks about kind of what he is, like more so than he has before, especially his morality after seeing how finite he kills people. He thinks about how he won't have, like, naturally, he won't experience the same fate the rest of the party may. And that kind of dwells on his mind for a good while. Pretty much the whole trip, because he's grown to see this party as his family. And it makes him kind of sad to think that in his immortality, he will be there to watch them pass.
And to just add to that, Throg, we'll say you'll be laying in your bunk. That's honestly a little bit too small for you, but you've made it work. I'll say over the last 3 weeks, maybe over a month and a half at this point, Throg, in his downtime, has been trying to figure out not only who he is, but what he wants to be. And that compared to the past life sort of creates this divide, this duality that comes at the price of being a Graveborn. And it's really in this moment that you start to feel certain emotions that, for Throg, may be a little unfamiliar, but from a past life translates as a sadness. And you're sort of left with yourself at a certain point. We'll say as the trip comes to a close, and we're in the mid-afternoon, 2.5 days later, you still remain in your bunk, hands behind the head, sort of thinking. At this point, because of the friends you've decided to make, and the people that you've tried to protect, that just like Endless and his leadership, you too will be the person solely responsible for manifesting your destiny of who you are and who you want to be. And take that how you will, but it's almost a call to life. You hear the horns, and at this point, Throg, it will be up to you how you answer that call. And with that, we'll get a little change of music to something a little more towny, I suppose. And I do have a story beat to get to, but it won't happen until the next night. So we'll say you show up at Windshire late afternoon around 3 o'clock, and the town itself is pretty bustling. You seem to have arrived upon when most of the masonry people and people who have volunteered to help are continuing the major construction process of assembling and putting together this large keep that will exist in Windshire. And if anybody would like to discuss or do anything specifically here in Windshire, I'd like to jump to this evening when y'all are going to sleep. So
Cool beans. Just a heads up, I do tonight have to leave here like at 10, so I just want to get that heads up warning.
That's okay. I did plan to play a little bit later tonight, maybe 11, 11:30, depending on how people are feeling. So if you're okay with that, we'll just continue on.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no.
Okay.
I might just listen in while I work.
DM.
Uh-huh.
There is something that English does want to do now that we're back in Wimshire, but it can either happen now or it can happen later. It's not like a dire thing. He just wants to go make a visit to Jeffrey.
Okay. Does anybody else would like to have a moment here back within HQ of Windshire? Outside of English?
Before Dre has to leave, Fia can show Cassandra where the Emerald Grove is.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Throgger Mox.
It depends on how much time we have here. So if the bit you have for the evening is pertinent to making that decision, I'll wait. Because what I have planned
Okay.
is like a multi-day sort of process. So I don't want to commit if we're not going to spend a whole lot of time here.
Okay. Well, it's hard to say what will happen in the future from now. So
Mox has been working on his kind of plan for building a pond or lake near his cabin there. He kind of had like
okay.
got the go ahead from Raiden, taking the inspiration from the village there. He is
Okay.
now reassessed to building an island in the center of it with the thought process of building up a blood hunter sort of academy out of there as like his giving back and like his retirement sort of plan, like maybe being an
Okay.
instructor there, but
Okay,
mostly
so
just the groundwork for that process.
alright, so what we'll say, because like I said, I don't know how the party will react to what's going on and how much time we'll spend here within Wishshire, but I will say that not only because of the standing you have as far as the government is concerned here within Windshire, it's it's easier than the exertion of breath from your mouth to acquire the help. And for the at the very least, we'll say that the process gets started, like you were saying. And at the very least, maybe the plotting will get done before something happens. But I guess we'll see.
Did you say this? You're making a lake in the middle of the town?
I mean, it's outside of the town.
Yeah,
right?
it's like a plot of land that technically belongs to Windshire, but it's not like inside the city.
Okay, got it.
Anybody else outside of Endless? Until we jump to the nighttime.
I was gonna show Cassandra.
Oh yes, yes.
You guys can do that before Dre has to get off.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
So we'll say upon arrival, all your dues are met. Like you say hi and thanks to the appropriate people that welcome you back into Windshire. And that afternoon, maybe bleeding a little bit into 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, we'll say Fia and Cassandra take a small walk that's probably like an hour or so outside of the city towards the forest line, where you are introduced to, if you don't mind if I take a little bit of creative liberty here, Dre.
Go for it.
The way I imagine this grove is very much like the shit. Is it Naboo that has the tree houses and stuff? In Star Wars?
No, that's the Ewoks.
Kashyyyk, right?
That's on
Kashyyyk.
Kashyyyk. Yeah, Kashyyyk.
Yeah.
That's the Wookiee
So-
one.
Yeah. No. Well, I guess.
Or indoor if you're looking for the Ewoks.
Okay, so I'm imagining a stretch of architecture that spans about a half mile to 3/4 of mile of just like bridges and walkways, and most of the druidic people that live here and make the forest prosper are living up within the trees themselves. So y'all find yourselves walking in essentially the central path that goes through this grove, at least to the length, is tended to by essentially like Zen masters. So a lot of the gardens and gravel pits and even sand pits that you follow through this grove are very manicured with 100% intention, and there's a certain prosperity and relaxation that sort of comes over you all as you and Cassandra walk through the druidic grove, the Emerald Grove. And I'll give you the floor, Fia.
I don't know if Fia has really been here since the funeral, so she's kind of like overcome with her emotions a little bit, and to let Cass know of that, she just kind of nudges her shoulder and then grabs her hand.
She easily grabs your hand and puts another hand on your shoulder.
And then we'll just walk in silence, I guess, as like I'm sure Cassandra can tell that Fia's kind of filled with emotions. And like as we approach, isn't there like a pedestal or something in the middle, like a tree trunk or something?
Yeah,
what I remember.
I can't remember. Oh, go ahead, please, Trey.
What I remember is she made her core for druidic. The center is this massive tree with
That's right.
It's like and then it's like a tree cave going in, and she's buried right in there in front of her. She's like at the core of the.
Okay, so what I'm thinking is, if you guys are, feel free anybody to post a picture in the chat, but like there are these trees in Mexico and like Africa that they're called elephant trees because they're like really instead of being super tall, they're super wide. And the base of this tree is maybe a diameter of like 20 feet. And instead of being super tall like a lot of the other trees in this grove, it stands only about 30 feet tall, but it extends out, creating its almost like natural tree umbrella type shape. And within the trunk of this tree, it's been hollowed out, and you're able to walk within the bound inside of the core of the tree itself, and it creates about like a 15-foot square of space, which in the center there's a like Roman-esque style pillar that comes up, and upon it is memorabilia left by past members of the Standing Bear that are meant to sort of honor Troxy's life.
I think there's I think he put Zaphreal put an amulet of cord. I think.
For sure.
I don't know what else was given. I think that was one of them.
We'll just say generically that everyone puts something in for now.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
As we approach, I tell Cassandra, like kind of choked up, so it's pretty quiet. This is the first time I've been here since her funeral. And with that, I'm kind of fine with just sitting in silence as we, pay our respects to Troxy, unless Casa wants to say anything. But after sitting there for a minute, I'll just walk back out.
Cass won't say anything. She'll just hold your hand and kind of sit there, just respecting your feelings and just taking in the beauty of what's around her and what it means to you.
And as she embraces your hand, Fia, to cap off this moment of taking Cassandra to the place that Troxy had created, I kind of want you to fill us in on your inner monologue of the situation in that moment of silence, and we can cap it off.
There's a little bit of guilt from Fia, realizing as she says it out loud that this is the first time she's been back here since the funeral. But like she told Cass earlier before, she reminds herself that she's felt Troxy other places, like she visited her room and she wears her necklace now. So she kind of pushes that guilt to the side and just enjoys this whole grove for what it is. Like this whole thing was created by Troxy, and so was the shield around the village, essentially. And so she just kind of, instead of focusing on her guilt, she chooses to focus on being grateful that there's still like a piece of Troxy here. And even if this isn't necessarily where Troxy is anymore or where she feels Troxy all the time, this is a place where she can come to like be surrounded by her energy in a way. And it doesn't necessarily have to be sad. And she kind of realizes that maybe she could visit it a little bit more instead of it being a sad memory here.
And as you sort of come to that conclusion, trying to see past the sadness and accept it for what this place actually is and what it means, Fia, in that moment of silence, you feel the embrace of a hand on your shoulder. And it feels very warm and full of love and a little bit of flirtation. As you look over your shoulder, you can see sitting cross-legged next to you is Troxy's last form, and she just looks at you with all four of her eyes and large antlers, and just intentionally blinks as she leans her head forward in acceptance towards you.
I lean my head towards hers and like kind of, whether it's a figment of my imagination or not, I kind of touch foreheads with her and just kind of take it in that this is kind of now what this area is, and Troxy's here in her own way.
And as you bump foreheads with this force ghost, essentially, a feeling of connectedness is blasted through your central nervous system in a way that, like, the contact of your foreheads feels like hugging a brother or sister that you've had in your life. And that feeling is what spurs you to finally open your eyes to confirm the sensation of touch on your forehead, to see no one beside you. And as you finish this moment of silence, you leave the tree, and something that you both would have noticed. Prior to entering the tree, it was mostly barren, but as you leave, you can see on several branches and even on the large trunk that is 20 feet wide, small orange and green flowers kind of blooming suddenly, giving you the impression that Troxy is here and she misses you dearly.
In a cheesy way that it's like almost outside of Fia's character, she blows a kiss to the flowers as she walks away.
And as you turn, the flower that's budding on this tree, as you blow a kiss to it, that single flower closes as if to catch it.
And when Fia sees that, a single tear sheds down her face as they walk away.
Cassandra's gonna put a hand on her shoulder and she goes, "Thank you for sharing that. I am honored."
As you guys make your way back to town, the camera fades into the brush, and when it comes back into focus, we see Endless starting to approach Jeffrey just outside of the city walls where Jeffrey's home nest is made.
Angus approaches and is excited to see Jeffrey. Like he'll run up and just like power slide next to her into kind of like an embrace.
Oh my god, you kind of smell like ash and cinder? As Jeffrey kind of pulls away just slightly because of the smell, but inevitably embraces you with all eight legs.
Jeffrey, I'm so happy to see you. I've missed you incredibly, and how is the spider army going?
Because enough time has officially passed in the narrative. Endless. As you look, the last time you were here, her babies were only an inch, maybe, and an inch and a half big. But at this point, as you ask that question, she goes, "No!" As between all the laterally, like, woven in tree trunks that makes this bubble of a shell, you see spiders crawling out that are maybe 4.5 to 6 inches big in length. These spiders are starting to show some promise, and boy, do they look healthy as fuck.
And he's like, oh, my. This is, as like a tear starts to roll down his cheek, he's all, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, just tell me next time you get the opportunity to raise thousands of young. You know, in the wild, most of these guys are supposed to die, but because of the magical protections here, they're not. So I'm working overtime, endless, and it's hard. And I'm supposed to make more.
Jeffrey, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Are you happy in your current position, or do you miss being by my side? Because if I can be frank with you, you've been with me since I left my home village. And I know that on the surface I am Engless, master of spiders and king of rats, as he like looks at the crown on top of his head. But to be quite honest, Jeffrey, I don't feel 100% myself without you.
Here's the thing, Endless. Do I miss the days of chasing down foes through the tree line? Do I miss the days where I wore you like a backpack and we swung through the Urim capital? Do I miss the days when I first learned I could speak? Of course, Endless. And although we'll always be a team, it's time I think I retire. And it really saddens me as all 8 of her eyes begin to well up with anime tears. Being a mother now, I've realized there's a lot more to my arachnid life. And I might need a break every once in a while, so an adventure might be good. But I think I've found my calling. And, Endless, I don't mean to be rude, but I think you found your calling. But you don't have enough inside you to see it for what it is. As she, like, gestures to the city, implying that she's talking about the Standing Bear. I think you fit the shoes for a long time. You just thought they were too big.
Jeffrey, I hope you know it's never going to be the same without you. And, of course, anytime you need an adventure, you just come right along. But I suppose during this time I've also been maybe a bit neglectful, and maybe I have trained you as far as I can train you, and it looks like you are doing quite well here for yourself. And maybe it's time I put forth the effort that I put into you, into Xehtom.
I disagree. Do you know why? As she looks up to you with only the type of look that a first animal companion could give you. And she says, I think the effort that you put into me should be put towards yourself.
English drops to his knees and puts a hand on Jeffrey's head.
All the babies crawl up on you now.
he's,
You're covered. No
He's-
skin showing.
he's just smiling, like, even though you probably can't see him, he is smiling like ear to ear as he kind of like puts two hands in the air and he says, "My grandbabies, it's about time I met all of them."
And you just hear as they all just cry out in love towards their papa.
Oh yeah, he's gonna have the time of his life with this. He's pretty happy where he's at.
Okay. With that, if no one, Throd, would you like to add to the pile?
I'm good.
Okay. So as the nighttime starts to swallow the sky, the bright yellows and oranges from the sunset dim quickly to blues and blacks and purples. Everyone finds himself going to sleep. And hold on, I need Fia back for this. Where did you go? Oh, okay. As everyone falls asleep, this night feels, at least for Mhox, maybe one of the most sounds. It's hard to sleep on an airship, especially when you just got a handy hammock for a bed. But this is the rest that a hero truly needed to sort of gather themselves. And as everyone falls asleep, I need some sort of dreamscapey music. So, Fia, as you hit the bed, you feel slightly emotionally exhausted from the afternoon that you had with Cassandra out in the Emerald Grove. The moment that you touched foreheads with Troxys is really what's keeping you up. The sensation and the emotion that was tied to that moment in particular felt extremely deeply rooted into who you are as a person. So much so, you see Mindy crawled up in the center of the room in a little ball, noticing that you kind of are stirring in your sleep. So she decides to sort of perch herself up and proceed to take up most of the room on the bed that you're sleeping on in order to relax you. But as 30 minutes goes by, an hour, 2 hours, the night, you're well into the midnight hours, and the feeling you are getting inside yourself is a sensation of longing. You felt this before. You felt this during Troxy's funeral. You felt this visiting Troxy's resting place. And it's this feeling of connectedness that's keeping you awake. I would even say that it's almost similar to having a feeling of adrenaline after some sort of an anxiety attack. It's just too much energy is balled up within you. And Troxy cannot escape your mindscape right now. How does Fia interpret this feeling as you lay there trying to fall asleep? At this point, we're reaching 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning.
Fia interprets this that there's obviously more to her and Troxy's connection than she realized, and she thinks it probably needs to be more of a priority to find her.
How does that make you feel?
I don't know, a little unsure. Like, there's definitely like things about Fia's past that she's like not fully sure about, and she is now realizing she maybe needs to talk to the group about, and she's I guess feeling anxious. That's probably what's causing her the most not being able to sleep, is like there's like an anxiety of not fully knowing like where this is coming from, and an anxiety of knowing that she might have an idea and she has to share it with the group. But there's also like kind of a relief to know that there's like some sort of deeper connection with her and Troxy, and to know that she might be able to find Troxy's new life again, or a new version of Troxy. It's kind of, I guess it's kind of a mix of the two, which is odd, and kind of why she's having a hard time falling asleep, is because there's like a relief that should be, you know, helping her sleep in a way, and then there's this overwhelming anxiety. They're kind of contradicting each other.
As you lay in your bed, Mindy kind of just trying to bruise under her breath, picking up on the emotional energy that you are exuding out of your pores. And for the first time since you can remember, this sort of internal conflict begins to make your internal temperature hotter, and you begin to get nervous sweats. But this is the sweat that's not evaporating instantly over your extremely hot temperature. And you begin to sort of roll and adjust, cuddling next to Mindy, getting yourself away from her. When eventually you find yourself in a state of mind that is not quite conscious, but not totally unconscious. And you reach out and call for Troxy, when suddenly the entirety of your vision becomes imbued with darkness and massive amounts of energy. And as this energy begins to coalesce in a form of a ball or sphere, the camera pans out, and we all witness as a huge asteroid, glowing with divine energy, starts hurtling towards a planetary object. As you zoom in, Fia, you begin flying faster and faster as you get sucked into the gravitational well that is this planet, and you crash into the planet, creating multitudes of devastation. Within, the rock and the ice and whatever debris that you had caught up in the cosmic expanse begins to shed away, and you see a large, probably 9-foot tall entity emerge from the rubble with a purpley blue skin, long pointy ears, accentuated with a long mane of hair that curls out kind of like Jesse from Team Rocket, projects out of your skull and wraps down and nearly caresses the earth floor beneath you. At which point, you realize there is another figure in the debris. This figure stands just as tall, maybe even a little taller, with a physique sculpted by the gods, sharing a similar purple and blue skin hue, long, pointy ears that trail off after 3.5 feet, with hair about half as short that hangs down the body, and antlers that protrude from the skull that are realistically much too big. We're talking 5 or 6 points. And you both make eye contact. And Fia, you are suddenly filled as this entity before you looks at you with an intense emotion of love, connectedness, and an invulnerability to separation. You both head nod in agreement and fly off into the atmosphere as you literally start terraforming the world around you. At which point, the scene swipes with a blur, and suddenly you feel like you've been thrown in a tumbler of noise. When it all settles, you realize your perspective now is that of which if you're standing upon a stage with hundreds of people in front of you. And as you meet eye contact with each and every single one of these, the eyes light up with a fiery divine light that glows and wisps off the edges of the eyeball itself. And you meet eye contact with every single one of them, and it's at this point that these are not strangers. These people are you. And your perspective is now flung through the crowd of people, and each person that you pass, a flash of existence is burst between your eyes. You are met with a perspective where you are with what you only know to be Troxy at this point, a figure with antlers, sporting a different race and even different size, dying right before you as a spear is plunged into their chest. You pass another person in the crowd. At this point, you see that, like, as you come to, you are being held in the arms of an antlered figure that says, "Don't worry, I will find you." Another person you pass within the crowd suddenly blurs your vision, and as it comes to focus, you see another antlered figure as you hold hands looking over a cliff that is hundreds of feet tall, looking at a vast ocean expanse. As you look over into their eyes, you feel this feeling of connectedness. And it's at that point, that feeling of connectedness shines bright within your chest, because this is the same exact feeling that you felt before when visiting Troxy's grave. And before I continue on, Fia, I want to hear how you make of this or what you do next.
Well, when Troxy said, "I'll find you again," Fia got emotional and just knew there was like so much truth in that. She couldn't even like express like how true it felt. Is she like awake now, or is she still dreaming?
No, you're very much still within the stream.
So I'm confused of what I can do in a dream.
Whatever you want, baby.
I don't know. I guess I'm gonna find Troxy and see if I can establish where she's currently at.
At which point, becoming familiar with this feeling of closeness, you fly through the crowd of people, at which point, in this dreamscape, not knowing where this knowledge comes from, you are starting to get the idea that all of these people are you, just in a different time. You see a smattering of different races and heights and sizes flash before you, and when you get to the end of the crowd, you yell out, "Troxy!" And there, just past the crowd of people, the dreamscape changes. Now being in a field, what looks to be years and years ago was created by a crater. I mean, by some sort of asteroid of some kind. Now full with lush, tall green grass. And as you yell out Troxy, you're met with a form that you do not recognize. But you see baby antlers sticking out of it. And you feel the overwhelming emotion of love and connectedness. What would you like to do as you approach this figure in the middle of a field?
How old does this figure look with its small antlers? Is it like still a child, or is the antlers just barely formed and they're an adult?
We'll say around that.
An adult?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just approach and I'll just assume like maybe we're both meeting in a dream sense. Maybe they're also dreaming too or something. And say, I know you don't know me, but I know one of your past lives, and I think we're supposed to be connected somehow.
As you try to reach out with your words, you extend an arm, getting closer and closer to this figure, and you just start to hear whimpering. I don't know what am I supposed to do? As she looks at you. And at this moment, when she meets eye contact with you, she almost embraces you with the touch. You reach out to grab her shoulder. What am I supposed to do?
I know you carry a lot of weight on your shoulders, and the best thing I can tell you is to find a group of people that want to support you in your mission. And just know you're not alone in this. There's many people who are out to like have a good mission on the world and save the world, I guess. Be a good influence on the world where they can.
But I don't need anyone but you. And as she, as he says that he needs you, it's almost as if a knife gets struck into your heart, and you feel this immense sort of like, the feeling is not measurable by the English language. It all amounts to you feeling extremely compelled to find Troxy, or at least as you know her, and to guide them or to be reunited, because somewhere deep within inside you, Fia, this is meant to be. And it seems like no matter life that you're living, you are meant to find each other. And as that happens, you hear, "Wait, no, don't go!"
Before that happens,
Oh, okay.
as I'm starting to pull away, I guess I'm gonna ask them, "Where are you? Do you know where you are?"
I don't know. And at this point, they try to concentrate as hard as they can. And as you're reaching out, they're literally starting to drift away from you like the ocean does from a beach. And no matter how hard you try, just like in a dream, when you try to run away as fast as you can, suddenly you can't muster up the strength to do it. And you begin running in place, trying to reach out towards this person. And it's at that point you get an image of a small grove of trees in a mountainous area. And inside this grove is a nestled hut created by druidic magic that almost replicates the shape of the shell that's around Windshire, but this big enough for 2 people to sit in. And as you get this image in your mind, it's burned permanently in your memory. Your perspective starts to pull out faster and faster. And as the perspective begins to pull outward and outward, you're able to get an aerial view. This location, for all intents and purposes, just to get a little meta for just 1 second, some weeks ago, ever since Troxy's passing, the objective of some of Windshire's people and mostly the Grove has been trying to locate the next incarnation of Troxy. And it's at this point you get an exact pinpoint location, and it's just on the breach of Nim's Forest and the Meadoff Peaks, which is, funnily enough, correlating with the information that you've already received from the Emerald Grove that would potentially hint at the location. The Meadoff Peaks, yes. Which, in all relativity, is probably the closest mountain range to Windshire, so it's not like you'll be traveling back to the Zonet's Hills. But as this location gets burned into your memory, you just hear, "I'll wait for you," as you wake up in a burning sweat, and you've actually burned the bed that you are sleeping in, and Mindy had no choice but to get off and sleep next to it.
So I was gonna say I warned Mindy as I was tossing and turning.
Yeah, no, Mindy got the message. Especially when the fluff of the pillow started to sort of smoke. You wake up with your whole, half of your room really destroyed, and it will need to be, refurbished in order to get the look back to what it was at. But as you wake up, I'll give you the floor. We'll say it's like fucking 6:30 in the morning, and there's birds chirping outside, and you sort of wake up to the state that your bedroom is in.
Can we just assume that no one is awake at the moment?
Why the fuck not?
Okay. So...
Except for maybe Throg. He doesn't sleep.
Okay. So maybe if Throg wants to, he can hear me struggling or whatever and come check on me, but we'll see how that goes. But basically for a second she's gonna look around her room and try to figure out how to put it back together, and then realizing, you know, she spends like a good 15 minutes trying to figure out how she's gonna fix this, like fluffing up the bed, seeing if she can fix the walls.
Nothing's gonna help really.
Yeah.
You're just kind of making best of what's there, and there's nothing there.
Yeah, and after about 15 minutes, she says, "You know what? I'm just gonna tell English I need a fireproof room." And then she walks out and decides, since no one is awake yet, she's gonna take Mindy for a walk. And she'll take. It's like you can tell something's on her mind. It's a very brisk walk. She's like not being very patient with Mindy, and it ends up being cut pretty short because she's realized her patience is very thin. And then she decides she'll make breakfast while she's waiting for everybody else to wake up. And she also, it doesn't take her long to realize that's failed. The only thing she can do successfully is make coffee. Everything else she just kind of burns. So after doing that, she just gets her.
Just 1 second, sorry. Throd, do you want the opportunity to jump in on this? Evan, are you there? Oh, you know what? I just read the chat. Evan might actually be asleep right now. So take it away, sorry.
Okay. So after that, I'll just wait for I'll just kind of give up on like trying to find some sort of thing to ease my mind, and I'm just gonna sip on some coffee while I wait for everybody else to wake up.
Okay, so we'll say within the peep walls, you're able to get this. I mean, you made bacon and eggs, which is a classic breakfast thing, but like the eggs are extremely dry and the bacon is basically a crisp. But the coffee is sure hot. And we'll say, just for the sake of convenience, that the party eventually around maybe 8 or 8:30 in the morning is able to convene for the breakfast that you made.
I'm gonna wait till everyone's gathered, and like I can barely contain myself. Like if anyone's paying attention, everyone's probably like half asleep, rubbing their eyes, but if anyone's paying attention, I'm just like bouncing, basically pacing, waiting for everyone to sit down. And I wait for everyone to get their food, but then I get to a point where I can't wait for everyone to sit down and start eating, so I just start spilling my guts, and I tell everyone like, I had a dream last night and I'm not sure what it means, but I'm pretty sure I need to find Troxy. I don't know how to tell you all guys this, but like I kind of have past lives similar to Troxy. I'm not sure how it works, because basically how a phoenix works, and this is what my mom told me when my powers showed up, the phoenix shows up again in our bloodline when they're needed again, and it hasn't happened so long in so many generations, my family doesn't really know how it works anymore. So it kind of became an old wives' tale, to where like my mom didn't even believe it was a thing that happened. But every generation we pass it on, letting the next generation know, you know, the phoenix bloodline runs in our blood and the powers can show up at any time. And basically for me, they showed up when I think they were associated with Eric. Was it Eric? Is that his name?
Yeah, Eric.
They showed up and burnt my village, and that's when my power showed up, and I couldn't control them. And my mom told me the story. So essentially, kind of in the same way as Troxy, the Phoenix magic gets reincarnated and instead of every lifetime, it's just kind of when the world needs it. But I had a dream last night that showed me and Troxy together in multiple different lifetimes, and it seems like Troxy's in trouble, so I think we need to find her.
Mhox kind of, it was one of those, like, a lot of information all at once, and he just got done with his run with Teddy, so like, not really,
what?
like, not really ready to like have an information dump right as he's like getting his bacon and eggs.
Which are burnt, by the way.
To be honest, he hasn't had even time to register that yet because of how
Okay.
much information just got spewed out. Well, that sounds important, Fia. I take it you got information on where to look? I know that was kind of a thing kind of on our back burner of like potentially looking into the next incarnation of Troxy or whatever sort of way we analyze that, because I'm assuming it's probably another name now than Troxy, but
I think she is male now.
good for them. Anyways, did you get a location? If we have information to go on, by all means, we could make preparations. I mean, we have a bloody airship at this point, so.
So I got a good visual. If we got close enough, I'm sure I could say exactly where she's at. But for now, all I know is she's between Nims Forest and Meadolf Peaks. And then, like, once we get closer to the area, I have a good, I don't know, my dream, like, gave me a vision of where she's at and then zoomed out. So, once we get to the area, I'll probably be able to pinpoint where she's actually at from there.
Perfect. Unless Endless has got something, I think this is probably our next course of action, and we can make our preparations for whenever we want to depart. Although everybody might be asleep still, and we might have to wake them up.
Yeah, I was about to say. Endless, are you still with the world of the living?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any words to share?
No, English doesn't at this moment.
So I'll take the opportunity. I know I planned on going a little bit further, but this seems to be a good spot to leave off on. As Fia begins to explain to the group of what it was that she had experienced in her restful sleep. Next time, we'll be able to potentially figure out where exactly Troxy's next life could have reincarnated, and what the implications that is with Fia and her past. And we'll call it there, ladies and gentlemen.